Welcome in, good people. Dr. Lund here. Today we're going to look at a case that happened back in 2008 when it started. The case of Casey Anthony and the murder of her daughter, Caylee Anthony. Buckle up, folks, because we're going to be looking at someone with personality disorders, psychopathy, a whole lot of issues that will make someone like Amber Heard look like a cartoon character. The trial for this case took place in Florida in 2011 when, shockingly, Casey Anthony was acquitted of charges related to the murder of her daughter. Some of the stunning details of this case included the fact that Casey Anthony had not reported her daughter missing until 31 days later, when actually Casey's mother, Caylee's grandmother, called the police and reported Caylee missing at that time. There were several lies that were told, some of them that we'll review that we know for a fact were not true, that were things that Casey had told detectives, police, interrogators, that really highlight the pathology, the significant pathology of this woman that I don't think many have seen before or possibly have seen since. The trial for Casey Anthony was televised, so many people watched this trial from start to finish, and she had earned a reputation of the most hated mother in America, and still, in fact, may have that title. The reason why you may see this video as well as other videos come out about sort of rehashing the facts of this trial is because now 11 years later, Casey Anthony has decided to do a 3-part docuseries that will be streamed on Peacock starting November 29th. It's interesting to know if some of the lies that she had told at the beginning of her trial in 2011 are going to be similar stories that she tells in these interviews. And again, the motivation to me is always questionable, is the fact that she may need money, because I don't think she's had any successful career since her acquittal. She may also be following in the footsteps of watching other cases, such as Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and seeing the notoriety that's come with that, as well as, again, book deal, movie deal, money. During the trial, there were several pictures of Casey that were taken during the time that she reported her daughter was missing and she was out looking for her herself. However, that was not the case. The pictures demonstrated that she was out partying, drinking, using drugs. She had gotten a tattoo that said Bella Vita, which means beautiful life. And the pictures demonstrated this was not a mother who was frantically looking for her missing child. From some of the interviews, as well as information from the trial, one of the first snippets that we get regarding her chronic and constant deceit and lying is related to the fact that Casey was not going to graduate from high school. She didn't have the grades or enough credits, and her parents had only found this out shortly before graduation was scheduled. And when they found out, they still gave her an elaborate graduation party. even had told friends that she had graduated with honors, which for me is very indicative of a dysfunctional family, that this was probably not the first time that they had covered, at least for Caylee, from something that she was supposed to do or didn't do, and covered the lie to make the picture of the family look happy and normal. Another early indication of Caylee's lying came about when she became pregnant. She didn't share this with her family. Her mother's a nurse, father a police officer. And at the time when the family did recognize that Caylee was pregnant, the question came up about who the father was. And to this day, I believe that question still exists. Caylee had cited a boyfriend. They did a DNA test. That came out negative. Then there was a story that another boyfriend was killed in an automobile accident and he was the father. I don't think that was ever proved through any paternity or DNA testing as well. So that continues to be a mystery. However, you would think her parents would want to have communication and contact with the father and their family to be able to plan, okay, how are these kids going to deal with this and what happens next and how do we assist them in that process. Again, definitely a very strange family dynamic in my opinion. When this case first became public, right off the bat there were problems in that Caylee was living at home with Caylee in her parents' home and was supposedly going to work at Universal Studios in Orlando every day. And Caylee had told her parents that she had to do something in Jacksonville, Florida, and had taken Caylee with her. However, after a month's time of the grandparents asking to see Caylee, talk to her on the phone, and they were not able to have that happen, the Caylee's mother, Caylee's grandmother, went and found her at her boyfriend's house in Orlando without Caylee. So basically it was Caylee's mother, Cindy Anthony, who made the 911 call, initially to report that Caylee had stolen money from them, as well as had taken their car, which she had been borrowing, and then later made a second 911 call when Caylee had told her that she didn't have Caylee. Caylee had been missing for 31 days, and Caylee believed the nanny, Zanny the nanny, had Caylee with her and she could not find them.
I called a little bit ago, the deputy sheriff saying I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month. Her mother finally admitted that she's been missing.
Okay, what is
here now?
Okay, what is the address that you're calling from?
We're talking about a 3-year-old little girl. My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her.
Your daughter admitted that the baby is where?
But the babysitter took her a month ago that my daughter's been looking for. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. And she just admitted to me that she's been trying to find her herself. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Caylee, Caylee, Anthony.
Caylee Anthony?
Yes.
Okay, is she white, black, or Hispanic?
She's white.
How long has she been missing for?
I have not seen her since the 7th of June.
What is her date of birth?
2000, oh God, she's 3. She's 2005. it's Caylee's missing. Caylee's missing. Casey says Danny took her a month ago. She's been missing for a month.
Okay, I understand. Can you calm down for me for just a minute? And I need to know what's going on, okay? I'm going to try and talk.
What is we can do?
Is your daughter there?
I'm on the phone with them.
Is your daughter there?
Yes.
Can I speak with her? Do you mind if I speak with her? Thank you.
I called them 2 hours ago. They haven't gotten here. Can she finally admitted to Danny took her a month ago to try to find her?
Ma'am.
Okay, Danny's here to talk. They want to talk to you. Answer the question. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Well, can you tell me what's going on a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me a little bit what's going on?
My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
And you know who has her?
I know who has her. I've tried to contact her. I actually received a phone call today, now from a number that is no longer in service. I did get to speak to my daughter for about a minute.
Okay, did you guys call and report a vehicle stolen?
Yes, my mom did.
Okay, so there's been a vehicle stolen too?
No, this was my vehicle.
What vehicle was stolen?
It's a 98 Pontiac Sunfire.
Okay, I have deputies on the way to you right now for that. But now your 3-year-old, okay, your 3-year-old daughter is missing. Caylee Anthony.
Yes.
White female.
Anthony. Yes, white female.
3 years old, 8/9/2005 her date of birth.
Yes.
And you last saw her a month ago?
31 days. Some 31 days.
Who has her? Do you have a name?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
Who is that? Babysitter?
She's been my nanny for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years.
Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?
I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was stupid.
Okay. Can you give me the name of the nanny again? Like spell it out for me?
Zenaida, Zenaida.
Last name?
Fernandez hyphen Gonzalez.
Well, there's a lot of things to unpack from that call. First of all is the difference between Cindy Anthony's reaction to hearing that her granddaughter has been missing and Casey's reaction or non-reaction as she's talking to the 911 operator, which seems almost like an inconvenience to her. Something you wouldn't expect from a mother whose child has been missing for a little over a month. This seems to be the start of the cascade of lies and deceit and deception that Casey tells her parents and then shares this with authorities and detectives. First of all, starting with the nanny. Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez is the person Casey had identified as a nanny that she had had for nearly 2 years, which was found to be totally untrue. A person with that name did in fact exist, but was never a nanny, did not live where Casey said, never took care of Casey or Caylee. She didn't know either. And unfortunately suffered a lot of consequences by having this name that Casey had come up with to describe a non-existing nanny. Even during interviews with investigators, Casey easily, clearly, non-stressful, gave details about this particular nanny that never existed. She created and fabricated an entire life about this particular person with a personality and characteristics and relationships that never ever existed. As part of this lie, she said one of her good friends that she worked with at Universal, a man she knew, was the one who gave her the referral to the nanny because he had a young son that she was taking care of. However, during investigations and on the stand during the trial, this particular man said he was not that good of a friend of Casey's, that he hadn't talked to her recently, he had no son, and never referred a nanny to her. One of the most brazen lies that Casey told was the fact that she had said that she had been working at Universal Studios as an event coordinator, which wasn't true. A detective had actually taken Casey to Universal into a building that she identified as the place where her office was and walked around that particular building until apparently they hit a dead end in a hallway, where Casey then turned around to the detective and finally admitted very calmly that she did not in fact work at Universal Studio. And the detective knew she hadn't worked at the studio for at least 2 years and had never worked as an event coordinator. Okay, so even though I can't diagnose Casey because I've not evaluated her in person, but let's look at some of the behavioral issues. And there are significant issues. One is the ease of her lying. She makes up stories. She gives these stories details. She invents characters. And she does it with ease and without what appears to be any kind of stress. This seems to be a pattern of something she's done for a very long time. She's a professional at it. She's very good at it. She doesn't show remorse. She didn't show or even feign that she was worried about Caylee's whereabouts when the world was hunting for her and her grandparents were worried about her. Casey seemed annoyed when attention got pulled to Caylee rather than it being on her. She has a lot of manipulative behaviors that, again, I think probably were reinforced by her family. And it's a way that she survived is by telling people what she thought they wanted to hear, what would keep her out of trouble, what would make her look more attractive. She seemed to have a lot of promiscuous behaviors, kind of the party girl, which makes me wonder if there was any type of abuse in her past, even though at the trial, a issue that was brought up, never proven, was that the defense attorney for Casey stated the reason she was having all these behaviors of lying and lived in somewhat of a fantasy world was because she had been sexually abused by her father and her brother. Again, neither of those allegations were proven, but she seems to have some smack of some abuse or trauma in her past. But again, I'm only speculating. As far as personality disorders, there seems a mix of an antisocial personality disorder with lots of traits from what we can see from the trial, from what she said, from phone calls that were taped. Narcissistic personality disorder. Again, there is the attention has got to be on her. And you get overwhelmed with the lies that she tells, even though some of these are easily uncovered, but she does it with such ease. I think counting on the fact that because the stories sound totally true, that she figures people aren't going to try to research to find out if they are or not, which was brought up many times during the trial, of a lot of things that Casey had said that were just totally not true. And from other things we know, besides the manipulative behavior, she has poor impulse control, the partying, the tattoo, the wanting to not have the responsibility of a child, but sort of live a juvenile life, criminal activity of stealing money, large sums of money from her grandparents, as well as her parents, just a lack of regard for any kind of consequences. And I think that's where, again, her family were enablers. I think there's lots of dysfunction in the family. Between her and her mother, there seems to be friction, probably long-term friction in that relationship. I don't know much about her relationship with her brother, only from a very brief conversation on the telephone where it sounds like he set limits and said he was not going to put up with her stuff. But she did accuse him of also sexually abusing her when she was younger. Again, an allegation that has not been proven. To my knowledge, Casey has not had any successful relationships or long-term relationships, which I think is a part of her pathology that leads to her lack of character. I certainly see significant symptoms of personality disorders from what we saw at the trial, as well as other issues that were documented throughout that time period. And it'll be interesting to see what she brings to the table for the docuseries. But again, I'm much more interested in her motivation. I don't think this is going to be the moment of truth. That word, I think, is not cohesive with the character symptoms that I see from this woman. As far as her acquittal for the murder of her daughter Caylee, we would have to get an attorney to be able to explain how that happened, and perhaps that might be a follow-up to the docuseries, because it certainly was a shock, I think, to everyone who was watching the trial, that with such obvious deceit and deception and lies, how could she be found not guilty? However, the only thing she was found guilty was of lying to the authorities, which she did admit to that, but in an interview had said, well, everyone lies to the police, and the police lie to everyone. So again, she tried to justify her behavior. Well, thank you, good folks, for watching the video, and leave me any comments that you have if you watched the trial, or your thoughts on the docuseries that's coming up in a couple of days. I'll be interested in hearing your opinion. And again, please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. See you at the next one.